Hi, welcome to segment 3 of remote assessment. In this segment, we are going to look at discussions in remote instruction. Now, sometimes online discussions can get a bad rap. Some people see them as boring and it can be difficult to create high engagement levels with students. But with some simple tips and some preparation, we can pump and pump and pump them up until they are strong and meaningful for all involved. Some of the benefits of online discussions include that they are very revealing about what students do and don't understand. You can make them open-ended and content-driven. You can incorporate a lot of different things. So if there's opportunities for interaction amongst students, they can gain multiple perspectives, learn from each other, learn about how to interact properly with each other in online environments, and develop some of those soft skills that if we're in remote scenarios, we're not able to develop as much as we might like. As with most things in learning, setting those expectations and modeling what you want them to do is very important and sometimes is forgotten in the online environment. And the more you can make your topics high interest and involve students in different and creative ways, the more successful and effective that they will be. So if you think about how you host discussions in your class, think about how they could be done in your platform as well. To add to that, I want to share some content-specific standards and foundations. For math, the standards are calling for students to reason abstractly, quantitatively, and construct viable arguments. What better place to do that than in a discussion? Similarly, in science, we're asking students to construct explanations, engage in arguments, obtain, evaluate, and communicate information. In social studies, developing questions, evaluating sources, using evidence, all of these things work very well in online discussions. So in the platforms that you might be using, we're going to look at Google Classroom for an example, but Schoology and Canvas, the two other main players in the LMS market right now, have similar features than what Google Classroom has. When you go to the Remote Instruction Bootcamp and go to the Remote Assessment page, scroll down to segment 3 on online discussions, and you can access our key considerations and resources doc. And when you do, you'll see here our key considerations listed and a number of resources for making discussions more engaging. There's an online expectations guide example. So if you look at that, you could make a copy of this and modify it for your own needs. I included another one that has a rubric for how you might assess the discussion posts. And again, you can modify that as you want. And there's a bunch of different things that you might find helpful, including accountable talk sentence stems, strategies that you might use in person that you could adapt to online, and then specific support pages for Google Classroom, Schoology, and Canvas. There's also a couple links to websites and platforms that are designed for online discussions. One of them is Kialo. It takes specific topics and lists pros and cons, and you can set up your own private room for which students can do that. And then there's lesson plans from allsides.org that design fully developed lessons around current topics. I wanted to show a little bit about how this looks in Google Classroom. And again, this would be similar in another LMS that you might be using. So in my Google Class, I've set up a question. So when you go to create in Google Classroom, the question is a certain assignment, certain type of assignment that you can do. And when you do that, there's a question mark icon. So when I go into this as a teacher, I can see how many have turned it in, and then I can see all their replies and I can reply to them directly. From the student view, when I answer the question, I first have to answer before I can see anybody else's post. So that way you're generating original thinking and you get a lot of revelation about what the student knows, doesn't know, or how insightful they're being. If you allow them to see and respond to each other's answers, they'll be able to do so, see classmates' answers. So now as a student, I can go in and reply to my fellow classmates. If you as a teacher want to allow students to edit their posts, that could be a helpful formative practice because they could view others' ideas. It might shift their thinking, then they could go back and update their post. but you could also disallow them from editing their posts if that's what you want to capture. So a lot of ways that you can use that, but really the point is you're getting to deeper levels of thinking, you're seeing what they know, you're giving them a chance to process and learn from each other, and then you have the opportunity to provide feedback, correct any misguided thinking, clarify different thoughts or questions that people have. So it's a really helpful tool, and it's very flexible as well. This could be used in class face to face, and anybody who's not in class can participate in that fully. So all of these different ideas could also be utilized in a platform like Flipgrid, where you have video discussions going on. So really, if you're thinking about non-written, that would be an easy transfer. And for younger grades, you just really want to think about simpler discussion posts. So maybe you post a prompt and you're just asking them to give 1 to 2 sentences so that they're not taking too long, and maybe they're not replying to each other, but they're still able to see each other's posts, and you still have that experience, which is very similar. So your task for this unit is to create a discussion post in the platform that you have access to or plan to use in the fall. A bonus if you generate a doc with expectations and supports for students. Whatever you do, share a link or a summary in segment 3 of the assessment unit section on your bootcamp checklist doc, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thanks.